Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Wrestling Chatter, we are sad to announce the passing of James Kamala Harris. Now, we were originally supposed to record, other material, but unfortunately, during the time of our recording, we found out that, Kamala has passed away at the age of 70. So we want to pay tribute to the late great Kamala. I know you guys, Adam, you're much a historian. Kloss, I know you followed wrestling a lot more than I did, back then. So I want to share some stories, your favorite memories, your favorite matches, just overall thoughts of the career and celebrating the career of Kamala.
Now, I appreciate that. Absolutely. This is a loss and tragedy, but I want to go back to the beginning of his career, right? He started out as a truck driver, right? James Sugarbear Harris, right? And he loved the Memphis territory that obviously Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler, uh, were top stars of, right? And he comes in one night, and asking Jerry Lawler, "Do you have anything for me?" Right? And Jerry Lawler basically goes, "Did anybody see you come in? No? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Like, go back out. Nobody, you meet me here at this time or whatever." And they go to like a Memphis swamp or whatever, right? And they film they basically do the makeup, and he was Kimla at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, you know, Jerry Lawler is the one who basically gave him his start, and it's just what an amazing career. This is somebody who, unfortunately, for circumstances only known to the Harris family, he was essentially illiterate, right? Probably like a third grade education. And he became, if not a millionaire, but he was pretty damn close. He was a household name to the extent where we're commemorating him, to this today. He was look at Hogan's run, right? And he was one of the major, monsters in that factory that Vince basically created to up the prestige of Hulkamania, right? So it's a tremendous loss. It's somebody that, regardless of circumstance, you could make whatever you want happen. You can make your dreams happen. He saw the world. He was never supposed to even, ascend higher to his truck driving job as an 18-wheeler driver, for a grocery store at the time where he first started with Jerry Lawler, and they put him on Memphis TV, and he traveled the world. You could look at old WWF footage of them in their tours in France, and he's actually in at Cobo, not Cobo Hall, but Royal Albert Hall in Britain.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he literally went everywhere. Um, it's a sad one because, I mean, as a man and a kid of color during the time of his uh, greatest run, he was somebody that looked like me. Obviously it wasn't the best depiction, but I mean, the man that James Harris was, you can't help but marvel at it. And of course, he had a multitude of health issues, ended up becoming a double amputee from the knee down in terms of his diabetes, struggles and what have you. But it's what an incredible life, what an incredible, colorful character. Ran through, the WWF, Memphis, world class with the Von Erichs. Like, if there was a top level babyface, chances are Kamala faced them in the late 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really sad. I don't think really, if you think about the credit he gets or doesn't get, like you were saying, Adam, leading up into like the early WWF days of Hulk Hogan, people have to remember, like we talked about this, George, like Hulk Hogan was just as successful as the heels he went against, and we talked about Roddy Piper being that amazing heel, catapulting that whole Hulkamania era. But people have to remember, like, when I was a kid and I saw Kamala in magazines or saw him on television, like, he was one of those few guys that you believed, this is like a monster that comes out of your closet at night, like the Undertaker or whatever, And it was scary. And then he went against Hulk Hogan. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't think Hogan, I know he's the best, but I don't think he's going to beat this guy. And it was kind of like all these guys that led up to the crescendo of the height of like WrestleMania 3, Hogan, Andre, you had Piper, you had King Kong Bundy. Kamala's a big part of that. You know, Kamala after and before, it's like Kamala was there right around that WrestleMania 3 time. And he was one of the big reasons why Hogan went over, because again, he was just unbeatable. You can't tame him. You can't beat him. He's from out of this world. That put Hogan over. And I don't think Kamala gets the credit as much as, let's say, Piper does. Let's say Bundy does. And of course, Andre, but that's a different story. But, you know, Kamala, like you said, I remember we did the DVDs at Big Vision Entertainment of the Heroes of World Class with Kevin Von Erich. And they featured Kamala there and his role there with feuding with the Von Erichs. And he was instrumental in that success. And we all know how popular the Von Erichs were, let alone what you're talking about, Adam, as far as Memphis goes. And the awesome story there with him and Jerry Lawler, that's tremendous, man. That's a beautiful story to think, like you said, not only was he he wasn't supposed to like gravitate after a trucking job or let alone leave his hometown, you know, but then he traveled the world, and his tenure off and on, he had a lot of longevity, because you're talking about back in the days of like the early infancy of the Hogan WrestleMania 1 era, 2, 3, and onward. But then, like, you know, then he's competing against The Undertaker, Wembley Stadium. You know, and this is like, he had a prominent career, again, putting The Undertaker over in the infancy stages of The Undertaker being a face, you know. So this was a big deal. It was a major pop in Wembley Stadium, right? Competing against Bulldog, Hitman, Warrior, Savage. I mean, he was right there in one of the 3 main events at Wembley Stadium, arguably the biggest crowd in pro wrestling history. So, at the time, and then fast forward when WWF was kind of taking a hit, and there was a big transition with like from 92 to 93. I mean, I was a fan of his run with Slick when he broke off from Kimchi, and he finally, like, you are a man. You are a man, when the crowd would chant this and all this, and Kamala would, you know, and I mean, it was just good stuff. And then he didn't know how to pin the guy, and then the crowd was hot, like helping him turn the guy over as a face. Good stuff. And so, and then you didn't think like Kamala would work as a face, but he did. He was like this lovable, like you said, you can argue looking back on it and how these characters were portrayed in many ways. With today's standards, with social standards. But at that time, it was like this lovable character. It worked as a face, I thought. And then there's a great skit on one of the Coliseum videos with bowling with Kamala. And Slick and Kamala go bowling with Lord Alfred Hayes. And I just think it's fantastic. You know, with Kamala has his own bowling ball and he's trying to learn. It is just, I still laugh today, you know. And yeah, so I think that he needs to be remembered for so many reasons. Again, putting guys over, and then evolving into being there for that long, whether it was off and on, but being there for that long, and then they didn't run with it. But like, I thought it was, this could work also as a face run right now too. So definitely missed. I never got to meet the guy, but people that have met him, that I've met, it's just like the absolute sweetest guy in the world, like bar none, you know. And unfortunately, there are some stories where he wasn't justifiably taken care of as much as he should have been, which hopefully that's not totally true, and that his family was taken care of as good as they possibly could have been. But let's hope that they're doing well, and all our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, of course. But yeah, definitely missed, man. We just found this out now, so it is kind of sad. Pretty darn sad.
He was a member of the original Dungeon of Doom with Kevin Sullivan. He's running WCW. We just enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. We give tons of praise for people that tend to stay in character a lot. Kamala was one of those guys that was always in character, to the point where the first time I saw him do like a shoot interview, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is just like a regular guy. Like I thought he really was from Uganda. Like I was baffled.
No, 100%. It was almost like the when we saw the Undertaker Last Ride documentary. It was like the first I think the first 4 episodes, I was just like, wait, Taker's really like speaking like a dude? Like what is going on, And I love how you brought up that Kamala bowling and getting managed by Slick Cross, because essentially he filled in that lovable, almost like boyish baby that George Animal Steel had previously held. So he slid into that role almost seamlessly.
And if you look back at that era when the crowd started to really become a little more dead than ever, I mean, compared to the 80s, like you look at those crowds when Kamala was wrestling during that dead time, and like the kids, he was like over with the kids in the audience, just like as cheesy as it was when Doink, I mean, heel Doink was the best, but like when Doink became a face, it was like he was like over with the kids. And that's what Kamala, like people, like when he couldn't pin the guy the right way. I mean, I was there at Long Beach for the WWF Superstars Wrestling taping, and he was like doing squash matches, and like the whole crowd was, "You are a man, you are a man," breaking from the curse of Kim Chi, his handler, and then like trying to turn the jobber over. They were like, the crowd was hot for that at a time when the crowd wasn't necessarily hot at all,
Yes, definitely a big loss in the wrestling community. One of his last moments in kind of the spotlight, I see, it was in the WWF back in 2006. Showed up alongside with Eugene. He did a couple things with Ring of Honor or with NWA events as well. So big loss.
And I remember on one of the Diva challenges, the Diva Search challenges, like they would guess who was behind the curtain. It was ooh, and the Diva. That was awesome. It was just he was great, man. He was awesome.
If anybody else has any of their favorite Kamala memories, favorite Kamala stories, please share with us. Comment down below. I want to know all about your Kamala memories. Once again, we shall remember and celebrate the past or the life and career of Kamala.